Hi, I'm Nathan, and you're listening to the Queer Conscious Podcast. Have you ever just wished there was a rule book for queer love, like a step-by-step guide? Yeah, me too. And I couldn't find one, so I decided I was going to make one. I've been coaching for over 5 years now. I've coached hundreds and hundreds of gay men, lesbians, trans folk, and I'm even hetero-friendly. But ultimately, I've been able to create 4 steps to finding and creating meaningful queer love. So I want to share that with you. But before we get into that, let me give you a little history lesson on the origins of queer conscious. Now, my name is Nathan Serrato, and I grew up in the small suburban city of Escondido. Some call it the Hidden City, some call it Esconghetto, others call it Escondildo, but that place has a very special and wonderful place in my heart. It's a wonderful city, unless you're gay and trying to date. But I remember being absolutely frustrated and disheartened trying to meet gay men. And it seemed like the only options were to scroll through blank, faceless profiles of closeted gay men, see the occasional few hot guys that wanted nothing to do with you, or to make the hour-long trek down to San Diego and go to Riches. Now, don't get me wrong, I love shaking my ass just as much as the next person. But when you're trying to find deep, meaningful connection, you're not going to find it on the dance floor at Riches. You have a better chance finding some Molly there, right? So here's the thing. I wanted deep queer connections and I couldn't find it. So I did what I usually do as I try to create it. And one of my first meetups, before it was an official meetup, I asked a bunch of random gay men to come out into the middle of the wilderness with me and let me film them dancing in their underwear. And the couple of acquaintances that I knew just through Instagram, one guy I'd been talking to on Grindr for a couple weeks, and somehow they all agreed. And so we went out into this beautiful hike on this mountain, and we filmed everyone dancing in blindfolds. And it was supposed to be this artistic representation of like just freedom and queer expression and being yourself. And I think we felt all pretty repressed in North County. So I think it was very healing for me. It was very healing for them. And I was going to post it on social media because I edited it with music. And the day that I was going to post it, Bird Box comes out. And if you don't remember what Bird Box was on Netflix, it's the Sandra Bullock movie. And it's like a horror movie where they wear blindfolds. So the entire feed was just memes of people in blindfolds. And mind you, we're dancing in our underwear in blindfolds. So I was like, I can't post this deep, meaningful, beautiful, artistic, interpretive dance during this meme storm of Sandra Bullock. So I never posted it. And I almost regret not posting it just because it was so fun and random and lovely. And I wonder if I still have that video. If I do, maybe I'll edit it in here. But it was just such a wonderful experience to connect with gay men authentically. And I don't know if I had ever done that before. So after that video, I was like, all right, I want to do something more formal. So I started this gay meetup group, and then the first official event of it was Gay Goat Yoga. And I advertised that like you wouldn't believe. I was on Facebook, Instagram, Eventbrite, Meetup, DMing guys on Grindr who looked like they needed friends. And I have some friends actually now who are like, yeah, I thought you were a bot just trying to steal my information. I'm like, no, I just was a sad gay boy who wanted to do gay goat yoga. And so it was a beautiful experience. We had like 12 people show up, and yeah, it was just lovely. And so that was back in 2018, I think. And, months later, that meetup, I think, grew. The biggest event we had was upwards of 50 people. And I'm so happy that I could have done that in North County. And now I've shifted the meetups down to San Diego, which is where I live now. But during that time, I started discovering that a lot of the gay men that I was connecting with had a lot of the same challenges that I had. And I don't know about you all, but having a therapist in a small town like that is really discouraging. Like there were just not adequate resources for gay people. I remember feeling ashamed for my sexuality. I remember feeling gaslit about my religious trauma and just dealing with therapists who didn't know how to support me. And then eventually, I did find a wonderful therapist in college who helped me through quite a bit, but it still seemed like I had plateaued. And that's when I decided, oh, the next step for me is then coaching. And I think through a lot of the somatic work, I was able to really shift a lot of deeply rooted limiting beliefs and just feel more confident in myself. And that's when I started taking my journey towards coaching. And so now 15 certifications later and hundreds and hundreds of hours of trainings, this is what I do for a living. And I really wanted to start this podcast because as much as I'd love to give coaching away for free, it's just not realistic and I got to put food on the table. So I thought a free resource like this podcast would be a great way to support a wide audience. And so welcome. So my goal with Queer Conscious is not just to create safe spaces for queer connection, but it's to completely transform people from the inside out. And I think probably one of the most profound transformations I've been able to witness was someone who just experienced loss and loss and loss in their family. And then just a few years later, I got to watch them walk down the aisle with their husband and tie the knot. And it was, oh gosh, it was one of those moments that I just realized this is what I'm meant to do. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. There's just something so magical about getting to be on that journey with these people and watch people become more open-hearted, loving human beings. And I mean, that's what the LGBTQ revolution was all about. And sadly, I see so many queer people resist love. We're afraid to put our walls down. We've experienced rejection, betrayal, sometimes from within our own communities. And it's hard to believe that love exists. It's hard to trust people after having been rejected by the world, by caretakers, by your parents. And my hope for anyone listening to this podcast, my hope for anyone that I work with is that they feel so confident within themselves, so worthy and deserving of love, and so trusting in their abilities to handle love, that they choose to let love in. And let love in for the sake of the thousands and thousands of queer ancestors who have worked so hard to create this opportunity for us. It would be a shame if we kept our hearts closed up. So my hope for the world is that mental health resources like this become accessible to people, especially in countries who are still criminalizing being gay. LGBTQ people are 16% to 36% more likely to experience loneliness than straight people. It can be an isolating world out there for us, especially without access to the appropriate mental health resources. And one other statistic I want to share with you all that I think really just lit a fire under my ass to get this podcast out. 47% of lesbian, gay, and bisexual adults are single compared to only 29% of straight adults. We're 20% more likely to be single. And we're almost, again, 16 to 36% more likely to feel loneliness. And so this podcast is not just about romantic relationships. This podcast is about your family relationships, relationships with your coworkers, relationships with the world, with friendships, the queer community, right? We need to have the relational tools and skills to be able to have relationships. Because let's face it, a lot of us have experienced some terrible things. And I hope that these tools can really support you in opening up to the possibility of deeper connection. So let's get into these 4 pillars of meaningful queer love. We're going to start at the very top. The top of the pyramid, okay, is compatibility. Now, compatibility is a lot more than who's a top and who's a bottom. And I promise you that, sure, that can be important, but there are actually a lot more important things if you want a successful relationship. And I think Matthew Hussey has a really good foundation for compatibility, 7 tests of accountability. So I'm going to queer it up a little bit here just to make more sense for you all. But essentially, you want to find someone with aligned goals. Do you actually want the same things out of life? Where do you want to live? What are your financial goals, career goals? What are your goals for relationships? Do you want kids, no kids? Do you want to live in a house, apartment by the beach? Do you want to live in Pennsylvania with your parents or in Southern California? And not just the alignment, do we have the same goals, but are goals actually aligned on the same timeline? Because if you want to get married in the next 3 years and your partner doesn't want to get married for another decade, that's going to cause a lot of challenges. So you also need to want the same things at the same time. You also should have compatible lifestyles. If someone is very, very extroverted and their partner is very, very introverted, that can cause a lot of challenges. And so having a general balance there is important. The 4th test here is being a great team in stress and conflict. And, you got to be able to work together because life can be rough. Your parents might get sick. And how do you handle that? Someone might lose their job. Someone might experience loss in their family. And how do you support each other through those times of stress and conflict? The 5th one here is, can you get all your foundational love needs met? And I'm not talking about like surface level stuff and, well, he doesn't buy me chocolate and we don't go to Broadway shows enough, but I'm talking about foundational love needs. So, and we can use love languages as a base conversation for that, but it goes deeper than love languages, right? It's how much affection do we need? How much support and reassurance do we need? How much alone time do we need? And can we be compatible in how we experience and give love? The 6th one here is trust. Now, Matthew Hussey says, do you trust them with your kids? And I know most LGBTQ people out there don't have kids, but if you have kids, do you trust them with your kids? You don't have kids, do you trust them with your life? Do you trust them to make decisions on your behalf in medical emergencies? Do you trust them with your dogs, your cats? If you don't trust your partner, it's not going to work out. And the 7th piece here is, do we have the same definition of commitment? And this is especially important in the LGBTQ community because we have such an expansive way of approaching relationships. We are not stuck strictly to monogamy, so those expectations and traditions aren't there. So with that freedom comes this responsibility then to have conversations around what commitment actually looks like to you. So this is pillar 1 is compatibility. You need to have someone that you are compatible with. You can use these 7 tests of compatibility to support you. I think what most people find surprising in these pillars is that this is the only one that actually has anything to do with your partner. The other 3 pillars are all about you. And so we're going to get into this. But what I find is so many people, love to just blame the external circumstances. And how many of you have said this before? Oh, it's so hard to date. Gay men's expectations are so high. And oh my God, the dating pool is so small. And the list goes on and on. As much as I can empathize with the challenges of dating in the queer community, I think it's an easy cop-out to not take accountability for what's going on in your life. And so the next 3 pillars are really more about things that you need to be working on. So compatibility is pillar number 1 at the top of the pyramid. Right underneath that is going to be tools. Tools that you have for your self-development, tools you have for relational development. And what I mean by that is communication skills, your conflict skills, your listening skills, and self-soothing skills. If my partner is going to be going out and about all the time and that's their lifestyle, how do I then self-soothe in times of anxiety? There are a lot of mental health resources and tools that you need to be building. Communication tools that you can be building, questions to ask, especially if you're single and you're out there dating. How do I start a conversation with someone? Ask for someone's number. How do I put my best foot forward? And so there's some marketing skills that you could even use, but all these tools and resources, right? Everything that you can learn and practice, this is going to be pillar number 2. Just underneath this is pillar number 3, which is a balanced life. And there is nothing sexier than a man who doesn't need you. Truly, there is nothing sexier than a man who doesn't need you. You can take care of yourself. What? You got friendships, you got a good job, you get along with your father. What? Like, just a man who's got his shit together. God. So you know how sexy that is, right? Not just a man, whoever you're dating. So why wouldn't you want to be that sexy? I want to be that sexy. I want to be so sexy that I don't need anyone. Damn, look at that Nathan over there. Shit, can take care of his French bulldog so well. Look at that. Damn, takes care of himself. Damn. So pillar number 3 is about balance, having a balanced life. And a lot of times when clients come into my coaching sessions, they come in there for dating and relationships, but then we do an assessment of their life and they scale every single area of their life from a scale of 1 to 10. And many of them find that their satisfaction level in a lot of these areas are like under 5. And right, so if you hate your job, if you hate your family, if your health sucks, if you have no connection to your spirituality, no connection to your personal growth, and no friendships, who the hell's going to want to date you? Right? You don't even have a confident foundation to build a relationship on because you're not showing yourself the love that you deserve. Why would anyone else want to show you that love? It sounds harsh, okay? You know, there goes my Drew Barrymore comparison. But it's true, okay? You want to have your shit together. The other benefit is, so if you're single and you're looking for a relationship and you have a balanced life and friendships, family, work, hobbies, your health is good, you're going to feel confident. And if you get ghosted by someone or you have a bad date, you are going to be less likely to freak out if that happens. You're going to be less likely to freak out if you get broken up with 2 months in. You're not going to lower your standards and get into toxic relationships or codependent relationships. No, because you have your shit together. You're living a balanced life. So that's why this is one of the most important pillars, having a balanced life. And when you're in a relationship, having a balanced life is still important. Having an individual life outside of your relationship, because fulfilled people create fulfilling relationships. If you are someone who loves themselves enough to balance their life out, to take care of themselves, to work towards their professional and personal goals, you are also going to attract people who are attracted to that. They'll be like, I see you working on yourself, and I know how hard that is. You're the type of partner I want to be with because you get it. Okay, let's start from the top. So we got compatibility, the only pillar that has anything to do with anyone else. This is at the top of the pyramid. Then you've got tools right underneath that. Then you've got balance underneath that. And at the bottom of the pyramid, we've got mindset. So mindset is the most important foundational pillar. And there are a lot of mindsets that just do not support you in finding a relationship or cultivating a relationship. The belief that relationships should be easy. Absolutely not. They're not easy. Relationships have a fun way of holding up a mirror to your deepest insecurities and showing you what you need to heal. Now, should they be mostly cohesive and supportive? Yes. But the average couple argues 19 times a month. That's almost every other day. So if you think you're going to get into a relationship and your life's going to be fixed, no, it's not. And so having these tools, having an individual life outside of the relationship, having a compatible partner, that's going to help you. But your mindset at the core of it, that's most important. Some other beliefs that are not going to serve you in your mindset is the idea that there is one soulmate out there for you. I hate to say this. No, I don't. Sometimes the queer community is like a bunch of sevens looking for a 10. I read that in a meme somewhere, but it is so true. These standards that some of you have for relationships are so frustrating because most of you don't even meet your own standards in the first place. And so how do you expect to find someone at that perfect 10 and you yourself can't even meet that? So I think a good 80-20 rule is supportive in finding a partner. Do I enjoy them about 80% of who they are and what's going on with them? And it's okay if like 20% of them gives me the ick. That's fine. Okay, like get over yourselves. But the idea that there's just this one perfect person out there for you, no. In fact, there are probably hundreds of thousands of people out there that you could be compatible with. The Gottman Institute actually says that for hetero people, there are 500,000 people out there for each person that you could be compatible with. Now, even if we take a 10% average of that because we're gay and there's less people out there, let's say there's 50,000 people out there who you could be compatible with. That's still 50,000 people in the world, right? But everyone's looking for that one person with the most fit body and amazing job, amazing family, great friends, who does Pilates on the weekend and has 3 puppies and wants kids and wants 3 boyfriends, and amazing sex life, and is into kink. Okay, do you get how ridiculous these expectations are? So it's another unhealthy belief in your mindset. So I get a lot of people that come into my coaching and they're like, yeah, I love myself. Yeah, I'm ready for a partner. But then their behavior says the opposite. Their mouth is doing this, saying, yes, this is what I want, this is what I want. But their body is doing something different. And why is that? Because their nervous system hasn't caught up yet from the years and years of rejection and trauma that they've experienced to their new belief systems that they're trying to convince themselves that they have. Your behavior is the true indicator of what you actually believe. So if you're making every excuse not to go on the date, if you're making every excuse to sabotage your relationship, deep down, there are some beliefs that are still running the show. And that could be anything from I'm not capable, I'm not lovable, and his book, The Velvet Rage, Alan Downs says, I am unlovable. It is this belief that pushes and even dominates us with its tyranny of existential angst. In our own way, young and old alike, we set about the business of earning love and escaping the pain of believing we are unlovable. It is this damned quest that pushes us to the highest of highs and simultaneously brings us to the brink. I always get chills reading that one. Yes, this deeply rooted unconscious belief. It's not like we're walking around saying, hi, I'm Joe and I'm unlovable. No, we love ourselves. We try to love ourselves, but sometimes our body doesn't let us. Sometimes our body doesn't trust the love that comes to us and say, this can't be real. I need more proof. And then we smother our partners until they flee. Others of us will take any critique or conflict in a relationship, and we see that as a threat or a criticism of our capabilities, and we run away from that conflict rather than leaning in with curiosity and love. And so there's so many ways that we can self-sabotage our relationships and our dating just based on this unconscious wiring of our nervous system. So, and I'll give you an example of the mindset actually. One client I was working with who was in a relationship and they were having some challenges in the relationship, but they were having such a hard time getting their needs met or even asking for their needs to be met. And, you think it's just simple. You say, hey, I am wanting some more connection. I'm wanting some more attention, some more love. And no, our nervous system is very powerful. Actually, it's our amygdala that sort of hijacks our bodies, especially in triggering environments. So in this situation, this client discovered that they had a limiting belief that their needs were not important. This belief was so deep and so deeply ingrained since childhood, because this person was supposed to have a younger brother, and that younger brother passed away. And they have this visceral memory of their grandmother looking at them and saying, "You have a big responsibility now to make your parents happy." And in that moment, they decided they have to be the golden child, the perfect child, which means I make other people happy, and maybe I'm happy along the way. But that identity is so wired into their nervous system, they take that into their relationship, spend their whole life trying to please their parents. They get into a relationship trying to please their partner, and eventually wake up one day and say, "What am I doing?" So when we can start to recognize our patterns, we start to recognize our behaviors as clues to our beliefs, only then can we start shifting our beliefs in our nervous system. And that's why mindset, again, is the foundational, most crucial piece to creating meaningful pure love. So let's just recap here. We've got mindset at the bottom. Then we've got balance, having a balanced life, in individual life outside of your relationships. You've got tools for self-development, emotional resilience, for communication, and compatibility. Again, finding that partner you're truly compatible with. And it's honestly, it's a numbers game, right? The more people that you go out and meet, the more chances that you have of finding someone who you're actually compatible with. And so I say use all the tools, right? Go out and have a thriving queer community where you're constantly meeting people. Yes, and you can do that if you're introverted, I promise. Just make time for your rest. Be on the dating apps. They're just a tool. And if you really can't, then go out and join a meetup group. It is possible. I know love can be challenging. I know relationships can be hard. I know it's hard to put yourself out there. I know it's hard to get your hopes up. But this is a quote that I have lived by and loved by, and it's done me well. It's from Luis Erdit, from The Painted Drum. And it says, "Life will break you. Nobody can protect you from that. And living alone won't either, for solitude will also break you with its yearning. You have to love. You have to feel. It is the reason you are here on earth. You are here to risk your heart. You are here to be swallowed up. And when it happens that you are broken or betrayed or left or hurt or death brushes near, let yourself sit by an apple tree and listen to the apples falling all around you in heaps, wasting their sweetness, and tell yourself you tasted as many as you could." So from here on out, now that we have these 4 pillars established, every episode moving forward is really going to be building into one of these pillars, right? You might be getting tools, resources on compatibility, on communication, on creating a more balanced life for yourself, around addressing your mindset. And this is going to be done through interviews and conversations with other people, through experts. And then occasionally I'll be coming in here and doing one-off episodes like this, and I'll record some more one-off episodes with some information to support you guys as well. So thank you for listening to episode 1, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and please leave a review. This is a lot of damn work. Holy shit. And give me feedback. What do you guys want to hear about? And maybe I'll make some episodes on it. All right. Have a good day. Thank you for listening to the Queer Conscious Podcast, where we explore how love feeds us, heals us, and gives us life. I'm your host and queer love coach, Nathan Serrato. But remember that the conversations that we're having here today are not a replacement for working with a licensed therapist, professional coach, or mental health practitioner. These conversations are for entertainment and education purposes only. But if you are dealing with some big challenges and you're thinking about seeking some professional support, it is one of the most empowering things that you can do for yourself. You can visit queerconscious.com for more information on how to do that. Now, if you love today's episodes and you want more episodes like this, I need your help. Please leave a 5-star rating and review. That's going to help me to bring you more high-quality content and interviews. So until then, take care of yourself and don't forget to let love in.